Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me. Another edition of CBT Now right here at the CBT Automotive Network. According to a new iSeeCars study, the average 3-year-old used car now costs, get ready for this, $32,635, a $9,476 increase since just 2019. Meanwhile, Tesla has rolled out a limited version of robotaxis and its EV sales lose momentum. Today we are dipping into what this all means for this industry that we are in and for your customers. Here now is Karl Brauer, who is the executive analyst for iSeeCars.com. Karl, the world is going crazy. A $9,400 increase on a used vehicle since just 2019. That's crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately for used cars, 30,000 is the new 20,000. So you really just need another $10,000 compared to pre-COVID when you could buy a used car and you could get approximately half of the 3-year-old used cars for a $20,000 budget in 2019. Now you can get 11.5% of 3-year-old used cars with a $20,000 budget. So a bit of a contraction in your availability to used vehicles if you're on a $20,000 budget.
Right, and nobody's income has doubled like that since 2019. You know what I mean? So it's just that much more out of a family's budget, right? And while there was probably some increase in their income, it just hasn't kept up even close to the increase in a vehicle or housing or things like that. It's nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's really unfortunate. And you think about people who they have a certain amount of money they can spend, and that's just their set price that they can spend, and they can't just ratchet it up because car prices have gone up. And I think a lot of them are being forced to look at older cars. They used to buy a 2, 3, 4-year-old car. Now they're buying a 5, 7, 9-year-old car because that's still in their budget. The good news is that most modern cars are more durable than they used to be. So you can actually buy an older, higher mileage used car and not necessarily have a lot more problems once you get it, hopefully, if you inspect it well before you purchase.
Yes, this is true. I've spoken to a number of dealerships or dealers over the last few years, and I've asked them the question, if a vehicle comes in, it's got 110,000 miles on it, but it's a 4-year-old car and everything runs great and the car is clean, do you put that car, on your lot to be sold? And many of them say, oh, absolutely, which was just not the case back in the day. You was anything over 50, 60,000 miles, boom, went to the auction, or maybe another lot that they owned that sold high mileage cars. But to your point, the cars are running longer, they're better vehicles, the technology is incredible. So a car no longer does it really scare consumers that much if it's got 100,000 miles on it.
Yeah, it really is. Just like 30,000 is the new 20,000. I think, 100,000 is the new 70 or 60,000.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. What's driving this dramatic shift in pricing?
We had a couple factors that came together. Everything from inflation, which we know has reduced the value of the dollar, to the contraction of new car production in 2020 through 2022. And where are we now? We're about 3 years later. So what should be the height of used car shopping, which would be 2 to 4 or 5-year-old cars, that's right when we had a depletion of new car production, and that's translated to used car scarcity. And then, of course, we did have a large number of people who switched from urban living and public transportation to suburban living because they didn't have to go into the office anymore. So literally, same thing kind of happened with houses too. Like everything shifted in a short period. You had inflation, you had a contraction in availability, and you had more people wanting these things, either wanting cars to drive, from a suburban to an urban environment, or just live in a suburban environment where they didn't have public transportation.
Right.
To people just needing a new vehicle where they didn't need one before because they never even had a car.
Yeah. What stands out to you the most about the decline in affordability?
It's fascinating to see how electric vehicles have been dropping simultaneously with most vehicles going up, and how they've kind of equalized. If you look at our figures, you'll notice, like you said, we're just over 32,000 in average used car price, and then we're at 31,000 for average electric vehicle used car price. So they're slightly cheaper than the average used car, which confirms what I've always known, which is that used car shoppers are much more value oriented. And if you're going to try to sell a used car shopper an EV, it can't be because it's got a certain badge or that they're making a statement for their friends and neighbors. It's because it's a good value.
Yeah.
And the only way an electric car can compete with a non-electric car is to be the same or even a slightly cheaper than a gas or a hybrid vehicle, because they do feel like they're giving up some personal liberty with everything from range to infrastructure and charging challenges.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see too on the EV situation with the incentives going away, the $7,500 and the $4,000 on used cars. What impact that's going to have, right?
I think it's going to be fascinating to watch, Jim, undeniably.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe, we kind of plateaued at around 7 to 8% nationally for EV market share.
Yeah.
And if everything from the federal incentive to possibly the California California Air Resources Board being able to dictate emissions for California, which ends up being for 11 states, which really ends up being the national standard because no company wants to sell a car they can't sell in California and 11 other states.
Right.
If that is removed, if that ability for them to remove that waiver that they've had since the 70s, plus the EV incentive, I could see electric car market share dropping down to more like 5% and just holding steady there. I think about 5% of the market wants an EV, and they don't need incentives or any encouragement to get one and all. It's maybe about 5, maybe 6%. I just don't know if we're going to see much above that if we remove all this government kind of incentive to buy them.
Yeah, interesting. And gas prices haven't come down all that much, really. I know the president keeps touting that somewhere in the country it's $1.89, but they took him up on that, and they can't seem to find that gas station anywhere. But I mean, they're still hovering around $2.75, $3 a gallon, right? So you would think that,
unless you're in California like I am, Jim, then
right.
they're about twice that. Don't forget, they're going up 65 cents, they're saying, at the start of July because of a new tax. And then we're losing our refineries out here, and they're supposed to go up again because of that. So people are talking about $7 and $8 a gallon gas out here in the not too distant future.
And so that alone would drive the average consumer, I think, to buy an EV, right? And you guys enjoy the highest number of EVs penetration in the country. I mean, you're at like 20+%, right?
Probably the best infrastructure too. Yes.
Yeah.
So between those two things, they do make more, and the weather too. Don't forget, it's not nearly as fun to drive an EV in Minnesota when you lose half your range half the year because it's cold out, but it doesn't happen out here. So it does make more sense from a, temperature point of view too.
Yeah, for sure. So with Tesla in this situation that they're in with EV sales that are softening, how critical is the success of the robotaxi launch to Tesla's future?
Like, kind of all or nothing, Jim. I mean, it's kind of scary when you think about it. I mean, Tesla did a great job of mainstreaming EVs and making people really consider them globally.
Yeah.
And but we now see China, who's totally gotten on board the EV train, outselling them and outpricing them. They can produce more EVs for a lower cost, which is hurting everyone, including Tesla, that's trying to compete on the EV world. And then you just have, again, a kind of plateauing and potential contraction I've described, at least in the US, and globally, we're seeing some plateauing in demand too for EVs. And this kind of geometric growth that Elon talked about for years, we're going to be making 500,000 and then 1 million and then a couple million cars a year. Nobody thinks that's going to happen. Everyone knows that is not going to happen. So his new business model, if he wants to be successful, has got to be something outside of electric vehicle production and sales and profit. And that's where robotaxi and the idea of self-driving cars and an Uber type service that doesn't require humans is huge. Unfortunately for him, everyone knows this, and he's not the only game in town. You got Waymo, you got Zoox, you got Baidu over in China. Everyone's trying to get this formula figured out as quickly as possible because it's going to be kind of life-changing and financially massive for whoever does.
Yeah.
And we'll see how he does. He doesn't have LiDAR on his cars like all the other cars do. He says he doesn't need it. I'm not sure about that. There was some questionable performances during his launch event recently in Austin for how well the cars were performing. So there's a real scramble, but he needs this more than really the other two companies. They've got other businesses that'll keep them going. Amazon and Google will go on whether or not they win this race, but I don't know about Tesla.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. We are in a kind of a small community just outside of Atlanta, called Peachtree Corners, Georgia, and Peachtree Corners is known for this test track that they've got that runs all through this small city that we're in for these autonomous vehicles. And so right out in front of our studio, if you look out the window, you'll always see these vehicles that are going up and down the street. They've actually built separate lanes for them as they're testing these vehicles, and it really is going to be a part of our future, isn't it? I mean, it's here now, but it's growing.
Right. You've got to be realistic about the time frame, though. And I was talking to an individual. He's in charge of the advanced driver assist, essentially the precursor to self-driving, at his automaker, an automaker we've all heard of. And he's the senior guy leading that department. And I asked him point blank, how long before fully autonomous cars are ubiquitous and we can all use them and largely replace humans driving these cars? And he said 15 years.
15.
Jim.
Okay.
So 15 years. And I think that's 100% realistic. And as you noted, there are specific zip codes, there are specific geofenced areas where this technology can work when it's warm out, when it's not snowing or raining, and when the temperature's right and all that kind of stuff. And they still aren't perfect here. They still hear about incidences here, but they're pretty low. They work pretty well. The day that, a person, and again, in Minnesota, during a blizzard, can get in a robotaxi and have it drive him, 20 miles without any incident, we're a ways away from that. We're a ways away from most people being able to access those outside of these specific geofenced areas. So I think that's the thing that whether you're talking Tesla or Waymo or anyone else, I think there are too many people thinking quarters here before this is solved instead of years or even decade plus. This is not going to be working next year or in 27 or in 30. Might be working by 40, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I happen to like driving. I don't mind driving. I don't know that I would ever either purchase one or even, I guess I'd feel okay testing it out, get it in one in a city that's been, having some good luck with it or what have you. But to say that I've done it, but I actually enjoy driving, so I don't really see the need for this on a personal application, right?
Well, I'm the same way as you, Jim. I enjoy driving, the idea that you turn this all over to something else. But you have to remember that we're kind of enigmas, right?
Yeah.
Like the average person, just like, not everyone's out there buying a sports car. Most people are buying practical cars that essentially serve their purposes for as effective a price as they can get. That's how most people are going to feel if this technology starts to work properly. I do consider it'll be kind of like an internet thing or even a smartphone thing. This will change society. When this stuff works, we'll have a whole different kind of lifestyle. When all of a sudden you get that time back and you have businesses that are based on just moving people back and forth without needing humans, everything's going to change in a mostly good way. Hopefully there'll be fewer accidents. That's the whole point, right? We're losing 40,000 people a year, give or take, from car accidents. If we could drop that number even in half, let alone by 80, 90% because of these kind of technologies, that would be fabulous too. So it'll be a human existence changing event, just like internet and smartphone has been, but it's also not going to happen in the near term.
That's right. That's right. We're kind of living in the Jetsons when you think about it. I mean, if you think about a vehicle that drops you off and it doesn't have a driver in it, and you get out of your car, and then a drone comes right over you and drops a package from one of the retailers, Amazon or others out there that are now using a drone. Am I right? It's absolutely crazy. And when you walk up to your door, it senses that it's you. It opens the door. The lights go on. I mean, this is the future that we're in. It's crazy.
It is. Well, look at us right now. We're talking using the internet and we're seeing each other. Remember the video phone in Jetsons? That just seemed so amazing. And now all of us do it whenever we want.
That's right. And also Dick Tracy had the watch where he could talk into the watch, and here it is, right? I had one of those watches.
Does amazing
There you
things.
go. I had a Dick Tracy watch. I'm really dating myself right now, aren't I? There's people watching me that are new in the business going, how old is this guy exactly?
Yeah. Who the hell's Dick Tracy?
Exactly. Who's Dick Tracy? And why does he have a watch? I don't know. That's crazy. But anyway, Karl Brauer, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Executive analyst at iSeeCars.com. Check him out online. I really appreciate it. And as always, it's great catching up with you. So thank you.
Take care, Jim. Look forward to the next one.
Thanks.